Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Chilltown Hoops. I'm your host, Jermaine. The youngsters call me OG. My friends call me J-Dub. Let's get to it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. You can consistently get content like this whenever I'm available, whenever I'm on live. You'll be alerted. But let's get to it, guys. So, when you're in an MVP race, especially this close, the small things matter. And one of the smallest things that matter is your availability. Are you able to go? That could be the separator between you winning it and losing it, especially when it's as close as it is between Joel Embiid, between Giannis Antetokounmpo and Nikola Jokic. So when it's this close, every game matters. And when I'm talking about the league MVP, again, we're not talking about the best player in the game. What we're talking about is we're talking about the guy who's the most valuable to his team's success. So, I've said in the past, what I look at when I look at Joker, and I look at his unit, and what he's been producing, and having his team at the top of the Western Conference, with no All-NBA performers, with no All-Stars, no All-League defenders. These guys are doing it. Problem that we having with Joker is that he's missed 3 of the last 4 games. Not only has he missed 3 of the last 4 games, he comes back in a game against Houston against a team that's over 40 games under 500, and they get smoked. That is unacceptable, especially when you're in an MVP race. That is unacceptable. And this team looks out of sorts. Now, a lot of people might equate them losing to Houston to Jamal Murray going out of the lineup. He ended up hurting his hand. He sprained his thumb. So that might be a problem. However, that game should have been more competitive than what it already was. And Houston should not be 20 points better than you guys this late in the season. No way. And I can appreciate the fact that Joker's been out of the lineup, but with him being out of the lineup, he should be rested. And he wasn't out of the lineup for 2 months. He wasn't out of the lineup for 3 weeks. He was out of the lineup for a week. So he should have been rested. Now, when I think about Joel Embiid and what he did yesterday, I'm not ready to say that the MVP race is over, but he did put a stamp on it that this is my race to lose. Doing what he did yesterday, going off the way he did, he looked like arguably the most dominant player in the game. Now, this is why I go back and forth with the Philadelphia 76ers, because when he's playing like that, they're going to be impossible to beat. Because there's nobody in the league that can stop him. He does whatever he wants. But the flip side to that is, that's where coaching comes in. Well, what do you mean when you say coaching comes in, OG? Well, you look at how they were dealing with Embiid. So Doc Rivers has Embiid in the pinch post, and he's got him in the mid-range to start the offense, where James Harden is hitting him at the high post, or he's hitting him at the free throw line, and he's basically getting wide, giving Embiid enough space. Well, what I'm not going to do as a coach, which I didn't understand from Coach Mazzulla, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to leave Joel Embiid 15 feet away from the basket with a money mid-range game against Grant Williams. We have to double him. We have to chase him off that. We have to chase him off that spot. And where does the double team have to come from? I'd like for the double team to come from James Harden. I'd like to see James Harden make some more shots. But particularly, I'd like to see the double team come from whoever's covering PJ Tucker. If we're going to lose, PJ Tucker has to be the guy to make shots. And I'm cool with him making shots. I'll tip my hat to you guys. Absolutely. But if I'm going to leave Grant Williams at the free throw line one-on-one with Joel Embiid, you're setting him up to get destroyed. Essentially what that is, that's Hakeem Olajuwon and Clarence Witherspoon at the top of at the free throw line. Olajuwon's going to win that matchup every day and twice on Sunday. You have to get the basketball out of his hands, and you have to make somebody else do it. I'm fine with Maxey shooting the long ball, especially when we get into the meat and potatoes of the game. I particularly want PJ Tucker shooting the ball, him particularly. But I'm okay with James Harden shooting the long ball. I'm okay with that. Because somebody else has to do it. Because Joel Embiid has one of those games that once he gets going, especially in the spots where he's the most effective, which is on the block, which is in the mid post, or in the mid range, once he gets going, one-on-one, he's impossible. You got no shot against him. None whatsoever. So I thought that was a coaching move. That was a coaching blunder from Coach Mazzulla last night. Why they didn't double team or even triple him at some point to get the ball out of his hands, make him a unwilling passer. Make Joel Embiid an unwilling passer. Make him an unwilling playmaker. When I say an unwilling playmaker, I don't mean a scorer, because playmaking is a part of scoring. Make him make plays for other people. And they did not do that. They left Grant Williams on an island against him, and that's just a recipe for disaster. You're not going to have a successful outcome when you do that. No. But Joel Embiid did put a stamp on the league MVP last night. No doubt about that. He did. Is it over? I'm not ready to say it's over yet. And the reason why I'm not ready to say it's over yet is because I just watched Joel Embiid two nights ago get outplayed by Giannis, who's also a candidate for league MVP. I watched Giannis destroy that Philadelphia team. He was getting whatever he wanted, whether it was downhill, whether it was on the block. He was getting whatever he wanted. Now, again, when we talk about the league MVP, we're talking about the guy who's the most valuable to his team's success. And I've mentioned in the past, Joel Embiid got a 20-10 guy on his crew. Unlike Joker, who has no All-NBA performers, no All-League defenders, and no All-Stars. Joel Embiid's got a 20-10 guy on his team. Not just a 20-10 guy on his team. He's got the league-leading assist man on his team. That matters. Who's also a 20 a game guy. That absolutely matters. But the flip side to that is Giannis has even more. And potentially the defensive player of the year in Brook Lopez. And one of the best perimeter defensive guards, who's also one of the better scorers in the game as a perimeter player, in Jrue Holiday. One of the best rotation players. So these guys make Giannis's job less difficult. And the responsibility that Giannis has, he handles it, but I don't think it's as difficult as Joel Embiid's. If you're talking about just those two guys, I don't mean Joker. I mean between Giannis and Joel Embiid. However, if we're talking about player for player, and we're talking about what Joel Embiid did last night, I could say the same thing for what Giannis did 2 nights ago against Joel Embiid. He could say, yo, I put a stamp on this thing. And they won last night against Washington, where he handled them with a triple-double, where he went 28, 10, and 10. 28, 11, and 10, and he was getting whatever he wanted. So, again, when you talk about the league MVP, you're talking about the guy who's the most valuable to his team's success. And last I checked, Milwaukee is still at the top of the Eastern Conference. And when I think about this Philadelphia team and I think about them in Boston, and to be quite honest with you, I think Boston beats them in 5 games, 6 tops. Because that coaching adjustment has to be made. I have to make other guys be more productive than Joe. We can't have Joel Embiid going for 50 and 55, 52, things like no, because we're not going to win. Especially at the end of the game, making the blunders that they made. I could see Philadelphia almost giving the game away like they did, but I could also see Boston doing a better job defensively, jumping Joel Embiid, making PJ Tucker more of a scorer, making Melton, when we get into the meat and potatoes of the game, making him more of a long ball shooter, or making him make plays. Same thing with Maxey, and doing that consistently over a 7-game period, making those guys do that. Now, I don't know how productive they'll be if that happens. I don't know how productive they'll be, especially when you get into the meat and potatoes of the game. I thought that they had a good shot at winning last night, even though Jason Tatum, who falls in love with the long ball, and somebody brought this to my attention, which does make a lot of sense. It's like Jason Tatum is turning into James Harden. His game is either at the long ball line or it's at the rim. There is nothing in between. Nothing. Now, granted, over the last 5 games, Jason Tatum is, I believe, 35 and almost 9, shooting almost 47% on the long ball. So I can appreciate him falling in love with the long ball because that's how Boston plays. That's how Boston plays. However, when you are that good and the defense keys on you that much, there has to be other aspects to your game offensively. I see what he does defensively. I see how much better he's gotten. But offensively, you have to expand your game. It cannot just be at the long ball line or at the rim. It can't just be that. Because if it's going to be that, eventually the long ball is going to die. And they're going to pack the paint. And if you're not going to be able to knock down 12 to 15 footers, if you're not going to be able to knock down 15 to 18 footers and live there, not just knock them down occasionally, I live here too. I don't just live on a long ball line. I live here too. If you're not going to be able to do that, then you're going to have a difficult time advancing. No Jaylen Brown last night, which is another reason why I think that they handle Philadelphia in the playoffs. And I just look at this Philadelphia team and I think that there's holes there. And I understand the Joel Embiid league MVP chatter. I understand it. A former MVP in LeBron James, his team won last night. You know, that Laker team found themselves in a dogfight. They found themselves in a dogfight last night. They actually had that game wrapped up. With 1:24, they were up 10. And all they have to do is come up with stops. And in the process of coming up with stops, get the open looks that they were getting previous to coming up with those stops. So instead, Kelly Olynyk is hitting bank threes and Dunn is getting to the basket unmolested. And now you've given the Utah Jazz life. And I don't love the fact that Anthony Davis only scored 5 points in the second half. Now, I do understand him being more of a defender and a rebounder. For him to go for 16 in the first half and then to not necessarily shut it down, but more of, I'm going to expand my game. And I'm going to get involved. I'm going to be more of a rebounder. I'm going to be more of a rim protector. I can appreciate that. But that aggression offensively still has to be there. And it wasn't. I mean, he didn't take a shot in the third quarter. He did not take a shot in the third quarter. Austin Reeves has been a sight for sore eyes, let me tell you. His ability to knock down open shots, play in transition. He is a solid defensive guard. I don't think that he's above average. I don't think he's below average. I think he's solid as a defender. I think he's solid as a defender. I think he gives them what they were missing. Beasley gives them what they were missing. And they got 2 of those guys. I think Vanderbilt is a better defender, but he's not the long ball shooter that Austin Reeves is. I'd like to see Lonnie Walker more in the lineup than I did. And I understand what Coach Ham was doing. I think he was going more on the defensive end, which is why he kept Troy Brown out there. I do dig that. I do understand that. But I don't want to get you guys to fall in love with what James did. Because again, man, James does this in stretches. This looks great. And anybody who knows me knows I'm a James guy. James does this in stretches. And it looks great. Do not expect James to be this moving forward. No. Their bread is buttered with Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis has to be the guy we're running our offense through. And we're going to for buckets. And so in addition to running our offense through him, we're also going to him for buckets. And we're also, when I say running our offense through, we're playing off of him. Because he is a willing passer and a willing playmaker. He is that. But James was phenomenal last night. Even though, like he said, he smoked the layup, he ended up making up for it. And this Laker team is in a really good position right now. Really good position. I think that they play the Clippers. They play the Clippers tonight for the 6th spot. And it's going to be interesting to see. I'm here for it, man. I am here for it. Playoff basketball is almost in effect. This is one of the best times of the year, and I'm here for it, guys. So you will see me. But until then, take it light, but take it.